I was scared to share my true color, to be who I truly was. I was hiding in the story I was reading, fearful of what people would think about me. But this ends now. I have stopped running. I decide to accept my diversity. Today, I will share our story of neurodiversity and mental health awareness. Welcome on the ADHD Melly Show.
Hello everybody! I hope you're doing well. I hope you like the little intro. Don't worry, I'm going to post it back on LinkedIn. But I just did this today because I got my new computer and I was able to do a video with it. So I'm so excited to tell you that now everything's going to work perfectly normally, right? So before we start, I just want to remind you that the GoFundMe is still on, because you know that the ADHD Millie Show is an organization that doesn't make money now, because it's not really a business. It's more awareness show. So if you want to help us found the show, please go on the GoFundMe. If you want to be a sponsor, please just write to me, DM me. I'll be so happy to promote your business. So before we start, I want to tell you that I'm so grateful for the $491 that I've raised on my Indigo campaign. It helped a lot, and very thank you for that. So now I'm going to come and bring Indina now, and we're going to talk about publishing our story, about books that we like to read and help us with our condition, etc., etc. So say hello to Adina.
Hello!
How are you?
I am wonderful, thank God. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy. Have you seen the intro? Have you liked it?
That was so cool. That was so fun.
I did that this morning. I was so excited. I woke up like at 7 and 8:30. I was outside. It was 3 degrees Celsius. It was so cool at the same time. So yeah, it was so cool. So before we start, please introduce yourself.
I'm Adina. I run Edelman Edits, which is a business for book editing. I work with writers who write memoirs and fiction and other self-help inspirational books, and I'm all about minding the message and bringing out the gold in your story.
Cool. And why did you start doing that? What makes you decide that I want to do this in my life?
Yeah. I pinpointed pretty early on what I wanted to do. I figured out in high school that I wanted to be a book editor. I love helping writers with their stories. I'm a writer myself, but I love that process of the writer has this trove of all these words, and helping that process to come to a place where it really speaks to the reader and it's clear and professional and enjoyable.
So have you a story of mental health that you want to share?
I'm trying to think. I'm a boring person. I can't pinpoint anything explicitly.
So why did you decide to edit, especially in the mental health area? What decided you to go to that area?
Mm-hmm. I think it's a very important thing for people to be aware of, and especially the thing about writing and reading is that it's so linked to mental health. Reading other people's journeys and having that feeling of community in reading other people's stories is really powerful. And also, writing is just an amazing way to process emotion, and to record what's going on and to be able to get through an experience. So those are both aspects that I believe in very strongly, and that I would love for other people to be more aware of and to use as tools.
So what's your favorite book that you've published?
Oh, that's such a good question.
What's the first name that comes in your mind?
Okay, so I worked on a memoir a few months ago. Not a few months ago, almost a year ago. It's called Where's the Daughter I Raised? It's a Jewish book, so there's going to be a lot of like jargon and Jewish terminology in it. But it's a really, really beautiful story of a woman who goes through cancer twice and losing a child. And a lot of mental health concepts do come up. And the way her process of growth, and especially linked with religion, was very, very beautiful to read. So that's like one that pops into my head of like, I loved working on that.
That's cool. So, what makes a good book to be read by somebody else? What is the right point to say this is good to be published? People will like it. What
Hmm.
will you say about that?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, it's funny because like the first thing that comes to mind is it has to be written well, and that is, you can't really define what is good writing. It's different to each person, and something that's great writing to one person will be different to another person. But generally, if it brings out strong emotion in the reader, then that is a sure sign that this is something that will speak to even more people. If it's not eliciting any emotion, or it's eliciting the wrong emotion, like aggravation and frustration, then it's not a great sign. And yeah, it should be written in a way that it brings out the emotion and it connects to the reader and it allows the reader to feel a part of the author's experience.
Because I read a lot of self-help books and I think it helps me control my own emotions sometimes. I don't know exactly what I feel. How should I process that? Because I have ADHD, sometimes it's quite hard to just process what you feel. And I feel that that kind of books just gave me a word of what I feel and makes me understand that it's normal to feel that a
Mhm.
certain way.
Right.
And yeah, so this is something that I really do, reading a lot of books. I have quite a books that I will say read, but it's difficult for me to read a book because I have ADHD, attention difficulty
Right.
sometimes, and Audible is a lifesaver. Okay, for me, without Audible, I don't think I will be able to read a book, and at the same time, it gives the same nature, right? So, what do you think about
Right.
Audible and other ways to read a book? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I love audiobooks. One reason I love them is because other readers will understand this. When you read a lot of books and then you say a word to someone and they're like, "Don't you
Oh, yeah.
mean this?" And you realize you've been pronouncing it wrong your entire life. Very helpful because they really teach you how to say words correctly. But it also, if it's a good narrator, it really enhances the story and brings out the narrative like much better than if you would have read it yourself. So there's definitely a power to that, and it's interesting because stories are meant really to be told orally. That's way back, all the way hundreds and thousands of years back. That's how they did it, right? They didn't have, before the
Yeah.
printing press, they told stories orally. So that's like going back to the way things really used to be. And yeah, I think it's a very powerful way of sharing over information.
Yeah, and at the same time, before Audible exist and etc., audiobooks was more for people that couldn't see or
Mm.
etc. It was more for those kind of people than people like me or you that can see and can read a normal book. So it
Right.
gives another dimension of the book. Sometimes I read it and I decide I'm going to listen to it because I don't want to read it again, but I still like that story now. And I'm like, did listen to a different story? I didn't. I missed some part of it, because sometimes you're too concentrated on one narrative, then you forget another one, right?
Mhm. Yes.
So, do you think that you're going to do audiobooks with your publishing, or did some of your
Um,
book
yeah,
did?
probably not. I don't do like the publishing itself. I just like stick with editing the actual books, and then I work with publishers, or I work with authors who are self-publishing. Yeah, I don't think I would. I don't really know about like getting into the audiobook scenario, like what that would entail or what work that is. But it sounds very cool.
Yeah, it is. So, what is your favorite self-help book that you want to share with us? Because, like I told you, I wanted you to present us a book.
Yeah, I have it right here. It's called Mindfulness, and it's by Mark Williams and Danny Penman, and it's called An 8-Week Plan for Finding Peace in a Frantic World. And I went through this book. It's very practical. A lot of people hear about meditation and they think like, oh, of a guru sitting on a rock with the hands and whatever, and and that's not really what meditation is for most people. And this book really focuses on the idea of mindfulness, of the idea of being in the present, because when you're in the present, then you're not constantly ruminating about the past, you're not constantly worrying about the future, and you're able to feel like you lived your life because you've been in that moment. So, and this comes up a lot if let's say you see something, you take out your phone to take a picture, and instead you just look at the thing and be in that moment and appreciate that that moment. So there's a ton of exercises in this book, meditation, along with just like the idea of you're sitting down, the first bite of dinner, just pay attention to the taste and how it feels in your mouth, and just being mindful of that. And it's sort of linked with gratitude, of appreciating the senses and being in the moment. So that's a book that I would highly recommend.
Yeah, I guess it seems to be very nice. I have a book too. It's from a Montreal lady. She got cancer at 23 or 24 years old, breast cancer, and now it's metastatic in her brain and her lung. And yes, so she did a memoir, which I really like, is The Diary of Nally, the name of the book. I'm going just to see if I can just put the cover here, detail. So this, oops, of course we don't see it, so we need to yeah, because it's like white, so I'm going to try to find it on my navigator and show it to you. At the same time, I'm going to try the screen share, so I'm going to so I'm going to find that in 2 seconds. So yeah, at the same time, this is a test of all the options I wasn't able to use because of my computer that I had before. If I was going to try to do that, it would have been dead already.
Oh, no.
So yeah, so I'm going to share my screen now to everybody. Share the screen. I'm going to find the and share it. So this is the cover of the book if you want to read the little narrative. So she just posted book, and it's a bestseller in Canada actually, and she's from Montreal. So she has so many reviews and stuff like that. I really liked it because it's not only about talking about cancer, okay, it's also about how she processed cancer and with our mindset and etc. Because when you have cancer, mental health, it's a little bit, it's like you said, is related a lot. If your mental state is not good, when you have bad news like that, it may collapse. Okay, and she been, like I said, she thriving through cancer for almost 10 years now. So it's been a while, and yeah, so that's what I wanted to share to you today for for my book that I wanted to share everybody. If you want to read a new book, it's on Audible. If you want to just hear it, and she's the one narrative it, so it's make the experience way better. So that's the book I wanted to share. So I'm going to Oh, Jake. Hello, everybody. I just see there's comments. So thank you so much for being here, Joanna. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Like I said, today I got my new computer, so I'm trying new things that I never did before. So so yeah, Jake, you should absolutely go to the Diary of Nally too. You will love that book too. You should try it out. It's from a Canadian. I'm Canadian. I'm from Montreal, and the book is in English, by the way. So don't worry, you will be able to read it. So yeah. So thank you so much, everybody, to be here and join us. And today, and now I'm going to ask you a question more about what how I mean, when I wrote my book, okay? I wrote my memoir. I'm sharing about ADHD and how it impact my life. I'm giving an idea because this is an idea I want to publish one day.
Mm-hmm.
What should how should I start after my book is like done, which is the step?
Gotcha. So I would say really the steps of what you want to figure out starts like before you're finishing it. A lot of writers, they think, I finished my memoir, now let me reach out to an editor. And sometimes that works because the editor will give feedback of, oh, here's such and such that you still need to work on, and do that and then come back. Or the editor will say, I'd be happy to help you. I have a wait list of 3 months. Get in touch with me then. so sometimes it's helpful to like reach out when you're at the end of the process to get an idea of next steps. But also really important to figure out is how you want to publish. Do you want to go through traditional publishing? Do you want to do self-publishing? Do you want to do a hybrid publisher? There's many different routes that you can take. So figuring out what you want to do and researching that is a really important step. And there's like no right and wrong with it. It depends on your book and what's going to be best and the smoothest process for you and what you want. So that's something to figure out. There's a lot of publishing consultants out there. Most editors know how to vaguely guide you to which route you want to take. And I mean, usually when I take on a writer, it's when they've totally finished their manuscript. It's finished enough that I don't need to do huge major rewrites on it, because that wouldn't be my job. That's for the writer to do, or for a ghostwriter to do. So it's at the point where it just needs a good thorough edit, and then it's ready to be published. So and every book is at a different place, and some writers aren't sure yet where what type of editing it needs, or if it's even ready for editing yet. So it is a good idea to reach out and find out that information.
So what is self-publishing? What is hybrid? We all know what is traditional, but I know what is self-publishing, but what is hybrid? I never heard about that. What is
Hybrid
this?
is awesome. I love hybrid publishing. So on the one hand, we have the traditional, right, which most people know about. You find an agent. Hopefully, sometimes you don't, but you find an agent, and then they send you to the publishing house, and you get it all nice, and you don't have to pay for anything, and it's really nice. And you give up some of the rights and some of the abilities of taking charge over your work as well. So the process can be a little bit difficult, but it is much smoother than self-publishing, which in some regards, because self-publishing, you have to do everything on your own. Hybrid publishing is in the middle, where you still have total control over what happens to your book, but a hybrid publisher acts as that conduit to give you the resources that you need, such as editing, such as a book designer, such as a social media marketer, so people to help you with the book publishing. And it's similar to self-publishing, that you pay for all of this that's going on, but you're getting experienced guidance. And hybrid publishers don't take anything. They take what's written fairly well, and what they see will be publishable. So it's much more accepting than traditional publishing, but it still has a level of of quality, and the ability to help writers see their book published. Different types. There's also vanity publishing, which is a similar thing to hybrid, except they'll take like anything. No matter the quality, and you can publish it. So that's great if it's like, you want to make 15 copies of something for the family, and you just choose to go through that, or so yeah, those are the main types.
Okay, and how can you make your book being a high quality versus a lower quality? What makes that difference? Because all story can be good or bad, like you said.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I would say, well, let's say we're working on people who can actually write. People, they need a whole very, very long journey to get to a point where their writing is really, really engaging and high quality. So let's say we're talking about people who they have a skill with writing. So for them, I would say it's a matter of, first of all, writing the thing. And then a really huge step is to put aside their book and just take time away from it. And this could be a few months. It could be up to a year, just to get your head totally away from what you just wrote, and then you come back to it, you read it over, and you're going to see a whole bunch of things that you missed when you were first writing it. And it happens to everyone, no matter how professional of a writer they are. And that is the gift of time. And that's a really, really helpful tool in order for them to come from a draft in order to bring it closer to a manuscript. And then another thing, in order to just improve writing skills, Stephen King says this. A lot of famous writers say this is just to read and write. And it's practice. That's what it is.
Yeah, but it's different. Like someone like me, I could never write in English, because my English sucks because I'm French. So I was more thinking about writing it in French and maybe get a translator to translate for me. I don't know. Yeah, and maybe
you can also do a ghostwriter. That's also an option.
Yeah, it's true. But do you have clients that English is not their first language? Can you talk to me a little bit more about that?
I personally don't take those on because I don't have the skill set to be able to work with that, because it does need a lot more work in order to make it more quality reading for an English audience. So there are definitely many writers out there who do that, specifically work with readers whose English is their second language. And they are amazing, and I have high respect for them.
Jake said something. I'm going to show. Hello, everybody. Yeah, you need a lot of experience. Like I said, I try to write a lot in English to make sure everything is perfect. But I normally have somebody that's going to correct me after that to make sure everything is fine. Because, like I said, English is really not my first language. And yeah, you're right, Jake. And welcome on the here, Bernard. Where are you for being in the morning? I am in the afternoon right now. So please tell me where you are. I want to know who you are, guys. I want to know. I'm always curious to see where are you from and where are you listening to us right now. And that makes it so excited to see all this international person. That's a little bit why I decided to concentrate in English, because a lot of people can hear me, right? English is like almost international language right now. So how much book have you helped editing?
I think I've done around 40 books since I started my business about like a year and a half ago. So yeah, a lot.
So can you tell me exactly what you're doing? I'm giving you a book right now. What you will do with my book?
Well, first I would do a sample edit on it. So that's like 5 to 15 pages to see what kind of editing it needs. And there are 4 main types of editing. The first is developmental, which is the biggest one. And it's the big picture edit. So you're looking at structure and theme and voice and making sure that the message is really coming across to the audience. Everything is structured correctly. And this applies to nonfiction as well as fiction. It changed the things that the developmental edit will address changes depending on the genre. But it's like the big picture type of edit. And then there's line, which goes through it line by line, and it focuses on the voice and the style and the sentence structure. And then closely aligned to it is copy editing, which is more technical, and it focuses on grammar and punctuation and spelling, the stuff that everyone really doesn't like, and word choice and all the little nitty-gritty stuff. And then the final thing is proofreading, which is the most lightest edit, which everyone thinks is like a copy edit, but it's not. It's like once everything else has been gone over and smoothed over, that's when the proofread happens. And it's supposed to take the least amount of time. So depending on what your book needs, I would take a look at it, do the sample edit, see what editing it needs, how long that would take. And then usually based on that, I can give the writer a quote. So yeah, but like I would never be able to diagnose a manuscript without looking at it.
Yeah, of course, that's normal. You probably read a lot of books. So I'm giving you an example. I'm giving you the manuscript. We sign a contract. You do everything for me. How much time is gonna take from when I give it to you, from when it's going to be on the library
So it depends on the length of the manuscript and the type of editing I'm doing. so yeah, so let's say you have a 30,000 word book, which some ebooks often are, and so that's like maybe 125 pages or so, depending. And we're doing a copy edit on it, so that would take maybe like 2 weeks to do an edit on. And then I don't know how long it would take to get like for a book designer and to turn it, typesetting and all that other stuff. But usually I would say the whole process takes, I don't know, I'm guessing like 8 months from like reaching out to an editor to like getting it published. But that's like conjecture. It's different for every single book, and depending on the process that they're taking.
And at the same time, it's something that you should be patient of, right? You need to have a nice book, and you need to make it as best as possible. You cannot just write and just publish it, right? It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So what is
exactly.
so what is the biggest misconception of your work?
Oh, I would say the idea, this concept of proofreading. Many writers reach out to me saying my book needs a proofread. And then I see the sentence and it's a complete mess. And it needs a line edit and a copy edit. So just the knowledge that proofread is released. If you think of proofread as a Band-Aid, line editing and copy editing is the antiseptic cream in order to make sure that there's no infection, and then a developmental edit is like stitches. So proofread is like the lightest form of healing. And yeah, it's like I was speaking with an editor yesterday. We recorded the different types of editing, and she gave the example of, if you have 2 periods in a row and you delete 1 period, that's proofreading. Like, it's really simple things.
Yeah, so that they think you're going to repair everything. It's going to be perfect. You thought, but that's not. So yeah, what is the thing that you like the most about your job?
That's a good question. The thing I like most, there are times when I'm like in the zone of editing and I'm working on a manuscript that I feel really passionate about. The writer has a really important message to share, a really valuable story. And there's a moment where I make the meaning come out more clear, and I'm choosing the word choice and just tweaking it a little bit. And at that moment is really when I feel like, yes, like this is what I really want to do, because I'm the writer has written something beautiful and I'm just polishing it. And I'm just making sure that when the reader gets their hands on it, it's something that they can fully enjoy and appreciate. So yeah, I love being that help in that process.
Oh, Bernard said something. I've been encouraged to write a book. I've been encouraged too, but at the same time I feel so scared of doing so, because like I said, English is my second language.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? It's going to cost me thousands of dollars to just make it work.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, it's an investment writing a book. You pay for doing that. It's not like you're not going to get rich. A lot of people think they're going to get rich by writing book. At least you're Stephen King. It's never going to happen, okay? It's just you need to do this for fun.
Yeah, it's something that you have to feel passionate about, or else it's very hard to get to the other side. And even people who do feel passionate about it sometimes don't, follow through. It's very hard. And that's another tip that I like to tell writers: of as you're writing your book, start saving up. don't like come face to face with publishing at the end and be like, oh, I'm supposed to spend how much money? Just like start saving up earlier on.
Yeah. So what is going to be the tip for people that want to start and doesn't know where to start? They just have a page on the computer, they have their idea, they want to start writing. What should they do to start fine, to start the right way?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The thing is that there's 2 different types of writers, and they're called I'm totally blanking on the names. One is pantsers, who they sit down and they write and they don't plan at all. And the other type is called planners, where they actually go through and make an outline and determine what exactly they want to write about. So it really, like, I usually give advice more to people who like to plan because it's easier to give them advice. So pantsers who they sit down, they start writing, and then they sort of hit a run, like, now what? And even at that point, I guess the advice to planners works, which is, first of all, figure out who your audience is, because that's really important in how you're going to be writing. And this is for fiction as well as nonfiction. Make sure you know exactly who your audience is. And that doesn't just mean like, oh, I know that my audience's age is between 30 and 40. Like, it's more than that. It's what are their interests? What language do they use? What background do they come from? And then past that is, why are you writing this book in the first place, right? Because if it was just like, oh, I was bored, then, that might run out. That motivation might run out very quickly. But if you have this why, this why of I want to uplift others, or I want to entertain others, or any of that sort of thing, then that's something you can keep in the forefront of your mind. Jake just said plotters and pantsers. Thank you. Okay. Plotters, not planners. Very good. Yeah, and then writing an outline to many writers, because then they have a guideline to run by. So writers use this a lot. They'll make an outline first, and then they'll start writing. Pantsers, I would say, if you come up to that rut and you have no idea what to write next, I would say at least just vaguely try to sketch some sort of an idea of what you want to include in your book, because that can be very helpful. And yeah, the whole idea with just starting, it's very hard to just start. It's very, very hard. That's why sometimes it's easier to just take out a piece of paper than to even make a file on your computer, because even like a file on your computer is a little bit more stable than a piece of paper. So, and it's like a little bit hard to commit to that. So I'd say take out a normal piece of paper, just start writing a few words down. You can type them up later if you want to. And every so often, try to just add to it. And I personally have this problem of, you want the first thing you write to be amazing, and you don't want to have to fix it. And so if it's not going to be amazing, I'm just not going to start. I personally have that problem. And that's
Oh, I think we lost you. I'm sorry. I think you froze. I'm sorry about that, guys. This is things that can happen, computer freeze and internet freeze. So yeah, this is something that can happen. So when she came, she will come back. But at that time, if you have any question for us, please just write it down in the comment section. But yeah, she's going to come back. She's just freeze now. But yeah, this is things that can happen, and I hope she's well. I'm going to see if I can write to her and just make sure that she's still here. So yeah, this is what life is. She's coming back. So yeah. So this is what life is, and sometimes internet cut and there's a little bit of problem, but at the same time that she's coming back, I'm going to share my screen again and show you the Indiegogo campaign that I did if you want to help the ADHD Melody Show thrive and being able to succeed even more. So I'm going to show you that. So whoops, this is not the thing. Voila. So this is the Indiegogo campaign. I just wanted you to share it with you. Oh, I think she wrote to me. And so I'm going to see if she's still here. Oh, she's not back yet. So yeah, I wanted to show you a little bit the Indiegogo campaign. And yeah, you can see, yeah, like you said, things like that happen. Normally, it happens to me, okay? Normally, I'm the one that the computer bug, it's always happened to me, and yeah. So yeah, I'm going to see if she's coming back, and if not, we're going to end that show up. But if you have a question, please say it in the description that you're on the chat down. I want to know what is your impression. And yeah. So yeah, like I said, we're going to dance a little bit. Have you seen my intro? I'm going to show you my intro at the time that you come back. I'm going to show you my intro that I've just done today. I'm so proud of it. So I'm going to show it to you again. Let's.
For a long time, I was scared to share my true color, to be who I truly was. I was hiding in the story I was reading, fearful of what people would think about me. But this ends now. I have stopped running. I decide to accept my diversity. Today, I will share our story of neurodiversity and mental health awareness. Welcome on the ADHD Melly Show.
So I hope you like that. Please tell me your impression down in the comment section. I just did this today. Like I said, I had my new computer. I was like so excited to be able to make a video for you guys. Intro, because normally my intro like a little bit suck because I always put, the link down. I just put like a counter and stuff like that. So I decided to do an intro and I'm so excited. Thank you, Bernard. I'm so excited that you like that intro. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to at the same time I'm going to give you another book that I've read that I really love too. If you want to know more about diversity in women, because diversity in women is quite hard because it's hard to be diagnosed. You can wait so many years to get a proper diagnosis, and it's very hard to just understand what you are. So the name is Divergent Mind. And I'm going to show you the screen right now. I have to Divergent Mind. Partager. So yeah, this is not Divergent Mind audiobook. Voila. So this is the book that I was talking about. So if you want to know a little bit more on ADHD, autism in women, because you're interested in why there's not enough studies on women on ADHD, because normally they only do studies on boys, so it's easier for them to get diagnosed normally, So that's why I decided to do that and to share that book and do my work too. And Indina is back, so we're going to make her come back. I'm so happy to see you. So
I'm glad I'm
hello
back.
So you're the one having problem today.
Oh yeah.
It's okay. I was
Okay.
showing some books, like you said. I've showed them the intro again, and yeah.
Okay,
So
great.
don't worry. So don't worry. Yeah, you're welcome, Jake. I'm very happy about that. So if you have any question, you can do it. I'm so glad that you're here today and just be it's something that happened, right? And yeah, internet went down, like you said. It happened. So normally what I do is I'm asking the guest to do an end word. I want them to end the show by saying something meaningful that they want to share. So what's your message today?
Oh, that's my message? Oh, you didn't prepare me for this one, Melly. Well, I would like to end with more like a tip, which is using writing as an aid for mental health. And there is a thing called writing therapy, which is a little bit different than your day-to-day journaling. But just the idea of being able to write down an experience is a very cathartic way to release emotion and to process emotion and events. And just a tip that I've used myself and that might be helpful to people out there is, let's say you've gone through a hard experience that you find difficult to talk about with people, or that you don't want to even think about. So writing out what happened in third person meaning she went here and did such and such. She felt this and this. Writing it out in third person sort of creates that barrier that you need, that distance, in order to not be so in it. And then getting it out on paper and creates an even further distance, and just the ability to take it out from your head so much and put it on to that paper can be very, very helpful. So I would end off with that tip.
So I hope, guys, that you enjoyed this show today. Despite the little difficulty, but it's okay. You know, it could have been me. It happened to me like 2 weeks ago. I just blocked out letting my guests alone. I was like, oh my god.
It's a great practice for stress. It's really great.
It's true, but don't worry, I was waiting for you. Don't worry about that. The people kept staying there, and it's
Great.
understandable, and it's okay. We're on internet, right? Internet can stop sometime. So everybody, I want to tell you thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoyed this chat today. We'll see you next Friday at 1 p.m. New York time. So goodbye, everybody.